Hello guys, Reggie Redfern here, and we have reached stage 7. Stage 7 of the 7 stages of money. By now we have gone all the way from sound money, which as we discussed in the early videos, has always been silver and gold. Ever since the emergence of silver and gold to, human civilization, silver and gold have always been the core and not only the core, but have always been the root of money. Even if actual money was something else, it represented gold and silver. Okay, whether it be 100% or partially. Okay, so it's clear that the value is the gold and the silver. You understand? All right, so now that we've come full circle and we've gotten to a point to where in stage 6 we discussed that at some point in time there becomes a currency crisis. Why is there a currency crisis? There comes a currency crisis simply because the common people begin to realize their loss in purchasing power. Simple. People begin to recognize that, I don't have enough money to get by. Everything becomes too expensive, right? Because usually what doesn't go up during this period is wages. Prices will go up, but your wages for your earnings for work don't. All right? At least not in proportion to the inflation, right? And so now we've reached stage 7. We've had bank runs. We've had currency crises. We've had all of these elements and these, instances take place. A loss of faith in the currency supply. And so now what happens in stage 7? Stage 7 is simply, I don't know what's going on with my marker today, a re-emergence. Lord have mercy. We got to spell things right. I'm holding my eraser and erasing with my finger. A re-emergence of sound money. Now, I want to point something out here. Because this is a cycle that has taken place over thousands of years now, I think it'd be clear for me to clear and necessary for me to note that now that we've seen this is a cycle. So please understand that when this cycle reaches stage 7, and all of your great minds, these great minds of the day, and these politicians who are so well-to-do, have such a genuine interest in what's best for the American people. When these guys get on TV and start talking about how we fix the currency problem, the currency crises, and so forth and so on, they are giving you the okie doke. These people, you can't, listen, I'm a firm believer in either, how do I say it? You can't be an Ivy League grad one day and be very of the most intelligent people of our world, certainly of our nation, and then turn around and be dumb as a brick tomorrow. I don't buy that. Now, what you do is on you. I don't buy that. Okay, so what I believe is that when these people start giving you all of their solutions, it's political mumbo jumbo. It's the okie doke. They know just as well as you now know that this is a cycle that has taken place for thousands of years, and they know exactly where in the cycle where we are. They know exactly how to fix the problem and how to keep the problem from being the problem to start with. But they make all of these solutions sound like new ideas. Okay, there's nothing new about the idea. So what is a reemergence of sound money? Let me tell you what that is. It is a mass movement, okay, back into, or I should say out of currency, okay, a mass movement out of currency and back into precious metals. Precious metals and etc. being other forms of tangible assets, land, real estate, commodities, Things with intrinsic value. Remember what we spoke about and we defined what intrinsic value is? See, people begin to get to a point where they're like, I don't need this paper. It's worthless. Let me get rid of the paper and take on something that has true intrinsic value. Now, that means we move back to gold and silver. Money. Real money. Once again, oldest form of money. And what do these two things do? Gold and silver will eventually reaccount, because if we remember, we started out in America with money that was backed 100% by gold. US dollar was a claim check or a receipt for gold. Just like when you go to the dry cleaner, you give them your shirt, they give you a claim check, a receipt for that those garments. Now, that receipt really has no value. The only value in it is that it's backed by your clothes in the store. Without that receipt, you can't go get the clothes. But if you turn in that receipt, you get value back, which are your garments, right? That's the same thing. That's the same scenario with currency and gold and silver. Okay, they're representative of gold and silver. So the gold and silver eventually will reaccount for all the paper that has been printed. And this is, you once again, see, once we got to stage 6 and stage 7, you should have started, if you hadn't already, you should start seeing the modern day era, where we are monetarily in today's era, right? Because you've already seen gold and silver do a reaccounting for all the paper that has been printed. It's just starting. It's not even accurate still to this day. I mean, gold, based upon how much money has been printed, should really be up in the 20s, 30s, 40s, thousands of dollars. I don't want to say what it should accurately be right now, because I would want to get true numbers before I tell you that exactly. But I know it's way beyond the $1,500, $1,600 range where it might be floating right now. I think it's dropped even further than that. Silver is back down to almost $20 an ounce. And this is because the powers that be, the powers that control this paper money, they have rigged the system. And they do everything in their power to manipulate gold and silver so that you stay away from it and you don't recognize that it's real money. So they rigged the market. They rigged that thing called Wall Street, which is a gambling house, okay? A glorified gambling house. They rigged Wall Street so that you don't see how much the dollar and all fiat currencies across the world are dropping in comparison to gold and silver. And it's doing this as we speak. It's doing that as we speak. Because gold and silver are doing a reaccounting for all the currency creation and the rises in prices. So eventually what we get to is a currency collapse. The currency collapses. Guys, there have been many have experienced throughout time, throughout time with fiat currencies. Money that's just printed on paper and ink has no true value. Okay, all of them, 100% of them have failed. Eventually, at some point in time, this paper returns to its true value, which is zero. Zero. The US dollar is in the process of doing this right now. It never had any value. It won't have any value other than the confidence that people put in it. If people lose their confidence in it, it no longer holds value. You see? And so then after our currency collapses, this is the probably the most interesting part. And this is the part that stresses or exemplifies the transfer of wealth. You get a new monetary system. That's right, folks. Eventually it goes to zero, and we go right back to the same smart guys that caused the problem and say, give us a solution. And their solution is usually some new form of money, a new monetary system, new monetary policy, so forth, so on. And I can promise you that, well, let me not say that. That would be out of line for this type of prediction. I believe that within this next decade, you will see a new currency. You'll see a new currency as well as a new monetary system. Okay? This is stage 7, a reemergence of sound money. So let's go through these 7 stages briefly again. All right, and I'm gonna write them all up here this time so we can see how we went through it all. All right, let's see how we can do this. Let me draw 7 in a circle, right? We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right. 1, we already know, sound money. All right, which is gold and silver. All right, that's where we start. I'm gonna slide to this side of this board. That's where we start. All right. Then 2, we end up with, as society grows, we end up with a government. All right. Stage 3 is economic development. All right. Or we could easily say this is a stage where government monopolizes the money supply. The government that we have created or that has come about eventually begins to control the flow of money. All right. Stage 4. We know what we do in stage 4, right? We take all of this growth and these political influences in this world influence that we have, and we incite war with that great military that we invested in. All right. Stage 5, we get debasement. All right, because we get into war and extravagant public works, and we basically spend more than we have. We go far beyond our means, and we cover that by debasing the currency. All right. Then in stage 6, we get a currency crisis because the people begin to recognize their loss in purchasing power. All right. And then here at stage 7, we get a re-emergence of sound money, is what we'll call it. We'll get a re-emergence of sound money. Back to gold and silver. It is a cycle, and it goes round and round. All right. Now, folks, I don't know how much you think of this stuff now that we've gotten to the end, right? But I want you to understand something. This, my friends, this stuff right here, this is the type of information, it's fundamental. This is the type of information that those who continue to put themselves in the way of wealth, in the way of the transfer of wealth over and over again, these are the things that they know that the average person is not even thinking about, not giving any thought to. And you can question this. You can even, deny this. You can try to. You can question it. You can test it. But look at the world we're in. Look at the condition of our monetary health, our economic health, and tell me we are not in stage 6 or stage 7 of this cycle. We're right here. We're in the midst of a currency crisis that will eventually lead to a reemergence of sound money. Guys, you should look at, let me give you some things, and I'm not going to write this down, so you may want to write it down, or if you've got a telepathic memory, what it's called, but you should look at what the IMF is putting out, the International Monetary Fund. Look at the papers that they put out. Okay, look at the Council on Foreign Relations and the papers they put out, the World Bank and some of the papers they put out, or some of these quasi-government think tanks, okay, and see what they are talking about in relation to money. And I'm telling you, they're all calling for not only a new sound money, just like France did back in 59 when they said, hey, the U.S. is printing more money than they have of gold. Give me my gold back. You can have your dollars, give me my gold back. And it led to Nixon taking us off of the gold standard, right? Well, if you read these things, and you'll find out, you can even read what's happening at the G8, okay? And you'll see that there's countries like Russia, like China, like Libya, okay, who were all going, let's go back to gold. The same thing France said back in the middle of the 19th century. 18th century? Back in the middle 1900s, okay? That was the 20th century. Give us our gold back. And these countries now are calling for a currency that is backed by gold because they don't want one nation called America to be able to print as much money as they want simply because the rest of the world is in need of these dollars. The petrodollar. We didn't get into that. That's I guess that's an extended conversation, but that's kind of what gives the U.S. dollar its international power is the petrodollar. You can't buy oil in this world unless you buy it in U.S. dollars. That's changing as we speak as well. That's what Saddam Hussein wanted to do. We went in, or the United States went in and murdered him. Muammar Gaddafi wanted to sell oil for gold and create a African dinar, all backed by gold, something that Libya was riddled with over his time. It was time for him to go, time for him to die. Okay, and if you ask me, that's just if you ask me, as soon as these powers that be, the money powers, government really doesn't run much. They are run by the money powers. Okay, check it out. The hidden hand. This is not a conspiracy if you do the research. It's only a conspiracy if you're just looking at CNN. If you do some research, you do some reading, you do some inspecting, you'll find that this is not a conspiracy. This is the way the world works. But anyway, as soon as these money powers finish toppling their last few enemies, that is those people who don't subscribe to this debt-based system of money, as soon as they finish toppling those nations, Syria, Libya, North Korea, Iran, all these countries that are all of a sudden so evil, all of a sudden they're killing their own people one by one, and all of a sudden we've just got to go in and do something about it. Never mind all of the people that the U.S. government is murdering. As soon as they finish their agenda, if they succeed, you will see a new currency. Certainly a new monetary system. And my guess, my educated guess, is that it will involve gold and silver. It's time to start the cycle over. I'd also bet that by the time my children are my age, we'll be back somewhere around stage 5, 6, or 7. We'll start out with sound money and we'll work our way all the way over to money that's nothing. If you guys haven't, you should check out my Facebook page or my blog where I have a recommended reads tab, right? And you should all check out a book called The Late Great USA. The Late Great USA. It's written by a man named Jerome Corsi. Jerome Corsi, C-O-R-S-I. The Late Great USA, where he lays out the policies and the plans that will lead us to a new dollar. It's slated to be called the Amiro. It will be the dollar not only for the United States of America, but also for Canada and Mexico. This is the same thing that happened in Europe with the European Union. Okay, and the euro. And once you continue to read history, you'll also find that America usually follows Europe. It happens in Europe and then it trickles over to America. Okay, but folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from all of this. I hope I was able to provide you some value and some knowledge, maybe something that you had not been exposed to before. That, like I said, when I first started in video 1, I found profoundly interesting when I was first exposed to it. But, this is where we are, guys. And if you know these things, you too can profit from them. You see, you can either fight this type of stuff, which I believe is hard to do. I don't want to say it can't be done, but I'm not a politician. I'm not the guy really to ask about this. You start asking me how you solve the world's problems, I'm probably going to lead you to God. That's the only answer that I've come up with, is just put your faith in God and go from there. But since these things have happened, are happening, and likely will continue to happen, it would only make sense for you to learn the game and play the game from a position that benefits you, your family, and your loved ones. That's why I shared this with you all, so that you would understand that very point. The game is ugly. The game is dirty. The game is not fair. But once you learn the rules of the game, you can play the game to your benefit. You can play the game much more to your benefit. All right, guys, with that, I'm going to leave y'all. We could go into some more things about the U.S. dollar and different things that have happened. We're on the brink of this new currency. You know, every 30, 40 years we've gotten, you know, major overhauls to the monetary policy, and we are, the last one was 1971. So we are on 40 plus years. It's about time for a new one. Okay, so this is right around the corner, guys. I want to help any and as many people as I possibly can to put themselves on the winning side of the transfer of wealth that is coming, to put them on the winning side of the 7 stages of money, to put them on the winning side of the game of money. And money is a game, especially when you recognize and you understand that it's monopoly money. Monopoly is a game. No one ever considered you could walk out of your door with that money from that Monopoly bank and go buy bread. But what we have in our pockets is equivalent to the Monopoly money. The only difference is the government's never said you could pay your bills, your taxes with Monopoly money. If they did, everybody would go buy every Monopoly game that's on the shelf. They would sell out of Monopoly games in a day. You think Black Friday is big. So, but it is a game, and I want you to win it. I want to win it. Look, guys, those who are poor lack choices. It's as simple as that. That's how I feel. Money is not about a Benz, a Beamer, you know, some fancy house. All of those things are great, nice, nothing wrong with it. But money for me represents choices. Those who have no financial resources have no choices. You take what you are given. And that is just that simple. I don't want to be in that position. I'd rather have choices. I'd rather provide choices for my children, like private school or the type of food that we eat, so forth and so on. Okay, and so you know, please do comment at the bottom of this video. I would love to hear your feedback. I would also love to hear your critiquing. You know, this is probably, I don't think it's the first, but it's one of the most in-depth series that I've done. So let me know what you think of the series and the information that I provided here. Connect with me on Facebook. I'll put a link below this video for my Facebook, and I will see you guys in our next video session, regardless of what we're talking about. Till then, take care. Peace, love. Bye-bye.